I always joke, your office reminds me just a hint of a homeschool room. Every time I see it, I'm just like, that is the homeschool room.
So I often, so normally when I'm in court, the view is a little bit farther back on Zoom, so you can see that whole globe. And anytime I have a judge, will say something about that Chiefs thing in the background, because I appear in court with that Chiefs thing in the background, and almost every judge I've appeared in front of has said something about it. And I say, well, Judge, you didn't notice, but I also have a map of everywhere Patrick Mahomes is the greatest quarterback to ever live. And so every time it got a laugh out of a guy that I was sending to prison. It was great.
And that's how you get judgments in your favor more consistently.
Right.
Is how that works. I'm going to just advocate that Tucker just leaves this all in.
This is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
Welcome into 21 Questions. I'm Ken Swanson. This is Seth Kaiser. We are answering all the questions from KC Sports Network's Discord. Seth, hi. How are we?
Hi. I am doing so well. I am in the middle of writing a piece about a schedule release that is a certain time, but is actually leaked to everyone. And I'm in the middle of doing all that, which it's just great. I have become the content creator machine that I hate, and I'm pretty happy about it. But it's good to see you, man. Last time we did this, I got in trouble on Twitter with someone who was mad because we were joking around about Briscoe. And he yelled at me, and he was like, "That's pretty beneath you to make fun of someone for a medical condition." And so,
I remember.
Yeah, so then I tagged Josh. I was like, well, you should really ask Josh what he thinks about it. And that schmuck answers, "Hey, man, thanks for sticking up for me. I really appreciate it." So, yeah, I'm excited to see what I'm going to say to get myself in trouble this time.
Oh, there's a few questions that might just do that. But anyway, where can people find that content you're working on there, Seth?
Absolutely. That at Substack. MN as in Minnesota, chiefsfan.substack.com or bit.ly/Seth really hates money, which is that brings you to the subscription for $12 a year. You can find me on Twitter at RealMN, again, Minnesota, Chiefs fan, and I say things there. And then, of course, every week, twice a week on Only Weird Games with the esteemed Nathaniel Taylor and Josh.
And when are you just updating your Twitter handle to Outkick Seth? Because you were featured this week on Outkick the coverage. So when is that happening? Is that actually a reference to your wife?
That was good. That is the sheer volume of people. One of my very favorite things to do is somehow find some excuse to take a photograph of Jazz and myself by each other and post that, and I'm always just like, well, honey, I'm just trying to show the people what I'm doing with my time and energy or whatever. And it's always just so much fun. I just love having praise heaped on me, especially the bewildered, is she okay? Is she she all there? Or is she under some sort of threat? And it's look, that's none of your business. I mean, whatever, we got a happy marriage. What do you want? And so that's one of my very favorite things. And yes, outkickyourcoverage.com was my secondary Substack name. Yes, I was referenced on Outkick for my my breakdown of the Rashi Rice situation in Dallas, where for God only knows what reason he was at a nightclub at 2 a.m. and got accused of hitting a guy. So I was just kind of talking about the way that as a prosecutor, you'd look at it under review and pin stuff together. And apparently that was good enough to get a mention as a Minneapolis prosecutor. So I'm happy to report I've moved 3.5 hours south to Minneapolis, apparently, just to make that report more accurate.
I wonder, did they just assume MN? I don't know. They assumed it was Minneapolis, or I don't know.
Yeah, I think
isn't it FSP?
It is. But I think most people, honestly, especially if you're thinking people on the coast, they think Minneapolis is synonymous with Minnesota. And the reality is it's like every other state with big cities and then a lot of small towns. Most of the big cities are we can't stand those small town folk. And then the small town folk, little stupid city people. So it really, I have very little to do with Minneapolis. Although, hey, shout out Mall of America. I do love you.
I've been to Mall of America once, and it was a long time ago, and it was long enough that I was in awe of it. Like as a 10-year-old.
I was there last year at 38, and I was in awe of it. It's fun. Where else can you go bowling, then mini golfing, then play laser tag, then ride on a roller coaster, then eat at a nice restaurant, then go to a movie, all in one day? It's incredible.
There's like a Camp Snoopy type theme park when I was there. So like if that tells you how long ago I was there.
Yeah, it's been Nickelodeon Universe for like 15 years, so it's been
okay. Yeah, no, it's been a while. Anyways, let's get into some of these questions. We got some great questions from KCSN's Discord. Subscribe to the KCSN Substack. You will get a link to join this Discord community, and it's a lot of fellow Chiefs fans and a lot of just fellow Kansas Cityans interested in a lot of different stuff. Score 100 Season Stan asks this question. Please have Seth describe what Discord is.
Discord is when two parties are in a state of disagreement. And are no, my assumption is, based on what I'm told, is that Discord is some sort of chat room.
Yeah, you're good. You're close.
The only reason I know that is because I was talking to Bearcat on Twitter yesterday, and he made references to Discord like it's great. And so I want to join the KCSN Discord. Here's the thing. I almost ruined my marriage over the Arrowhead Pride comments section for years because I spent so much time. It's like, well, honey, I can't come to bed. It's the whole, someone's wrong on the internet, and just...
Has that gone away, though? Can you at least, let that happen now better?
Well, the comment section on the Chief of the North newsletter is filled with pristine gentlemen and gentle ladies that have wonderful takes, and so I don't feel the need to do that. And it has gotten better over the years. I think I've just got less energy, honestly. I'm just tired. It's like, that guy's wrong. You hate to see it, and then I just go to bed.
Well, I'm so glad the people that are giving you money agree with you, Seth. What? That's good.
Yeah.
At $12, they're allowed to be a little bit angry. You'd think, right?
I tell people, criticize me as much as you want. You really can. I'd love to hear it. And then, I immediately delete their subscription if they do, because,
I had this theory Chick-fil-A. I find that people are just actively happier when they're at Chick-fil-A. The lines are long. It's a chaotic place, but just because everyone is so happy there and helpful there, it winds up that everyone's just like a tad more patient.
Yep.
A tad. Maybe you are. Maybe the discourse on your side is just it's the same vibe. It's the Chick-fil-A vibe, where people are happy to be paying $12 a year for all the content. And, I think
that's good. I like that. I like that as a theory. That aligns with a lot of things with my brand. So there's a whole lot going on here that really slides right into place. I do think, and I always try to keep the paywall as low as possible, of course, because I want everyone to be able to subscribe. I do think it helps a little in terms of a comment section when there's a tiny barrier to entry, where it's like, you're paying to be here. Are you really gonna flip out or whatever? And I've had to delete maybe 2 comments in 4 years. And every time I've done it, I immediately email the person saying, hey, here's the thing. Disagreement's fine. Say whatever you want in terms of that. We don't insult people. We don't whatever. I am making this a little haven. This is, this is the last homely house of the internet. And I am Elrond. So that's the...
That's great. Just DRK wants to know if we think the Bills still have a picture of our Super Bowl trophy at their practice facility.
I forgot about that. I know it's probably now it's a picture of you know what, I was gonna do a McDermott joke there, and I'm pulling back a little bit.
We all have it. We got it.
There's all sorts of pictures that they could have, but I think the Bills, this last year had to have done it, right? Like, I mean, the resignation, there's a YouTube clip where it's the Bills home announcers on the radio announcing the wide right and the Chiefs winning. I wonder if that kind of broke them in the sense of maybe they realized they need to stop focusing on the Chiefs, honestly. I think they built up their team with the Chiefs in mind. That's not a terrible idea, but I just think anytime you make one team like your nemesis, you're just asking for trouble. And so my hope for them is that they've started to move on. The Chiefs can get back to their thing with the Bengals, I guess. I don't know.
The shine kind of wore off me for that last game, with that last game. So, like, yeah, I have been someone that has always felt as though the Bills are the biggest threat to the Chiefs at all times. And I just think that game broke that version of the Bills because they blew it up and they're trying to, go young, go cheap, and try to rebuild that team a little bit differently because that version's done, Yeah. So, but the shine wore off for me a little bit on that Bills team a little bit because that and like this. I mean, Josh Allen's still awesome, and I still think he's the second best quarterback in the National Football League personally. But like just how I view them changed. I think how they're viewing everything in its entirety for like that was an organizational changing moment in the season for them. They had a really rough season like the Chiefs did. People forget that. Like they had their struggles too. Most of theirs were injury related, but still.
Right. And then they had to win like 7 or 8 in a row because that was one of the lines, right? Hottest team in the NFL in their house. And that's really, I mean, there's iterations to teams, and we've seen that. Like the team that won the 2023 Super Bowl and 22 Super Bowl was different in a lot of ways. Like it's still the Mahomes, Kelsey Jones, Reed Spags team. But there's a lot of stuff that's changed. And the Bills, that was that last year for that iteration. And I think you would call that what, the Allen Diggs iteration?
Yeah.
And they blew it up. And like
Poyer.
Yeah. Like, they had the best safety duo in the league. That was that iteration of that team. And it fell short. And that's largely because of the Chiefs. Because I understand they kind of had a rough year. This is what's ironic, or maybe not ironic, because no one knows what ironic actually means, including me. But I wonder,
ironic.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, hey, we did it. So the 2021 Bills, they didn't have an incredible season, but I think that team beats the Bengals the next week, and I think they probably win that Super Bowl. Like I think either the Bills or the Chiefs, I think they win that Super Bowl, and I'm sure Bengals fans, if they see that, will be mad, but I don't care. So, that's really like I think that was their best shot, and Mahomes just took it from them. And then this last year, they have maybe in a sense, maybe better shot. I think the Ravens house that Bills team. I really do.
Yeah,
I think their defense was just too good, but they just fell short because of the Chiefs, and now they've put to death an entire iteration of a team. And I'm just like, it would be really funny to me, like, because the 49ers they've got like one more year to kind of run back this iteration of their team. If the Chiefs beat them again, that would be hilarious because that's going to retire that iteration of the 49ers too.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the Bengals are about to incur a lot of changes too. Like this upcoming, This is their last hurrah kind of for this version of this team. And I don't trust Mike Brown, the owner of the Bengals, to really, do right by that group of kids anyway.
No, they've drafted super well, but they're not going to be able to pay those guys.
Which makes everything the Chiefs have done just all the more impressive because they've tamped down the legacies of all these other great quarterbacks in the best window and best opportunity. Like they are just slowly just draining these windows to death. And but CJ Stroud, here comes CJ Stroud. So
yeah, there's always going to be another one coming.
Yep, and that one's pretty good too. John Does Stuff wants to know if canoeing the Boundary Waters is as great as it sounds, and how many days should you schedule a trip for?
So
Boundary Waters. I'm assuming is that Canada? Minnesota, Canada, like
it's northern Minnesota. with the
Canada
waters.
Got it. Oh,
I'm, tomato. Most people I know that canoeing the boundary waters is incredible if you're into nature. There's very few places in the world that are more beautiful and nice and just lovely than Minnesota in the summer. Maybe have some mosquito spray with you. That's a thing. Lots of lakes, lots of mosquitoes. I would, especially if you're into camping, hiking, canoeing, all that stuff, I'd do a full week. It really is beautiful. And if you end up near the boundary waters, you might be relatively close to where I abide, and I'll buy you a burger if you're within a reasonable driving distance, because it really is. It's a really cool thing. Just there's so many really, really beautiful places near where I live.
my dad grew up in Alexandria for a good chunk of his life, and we went back and visited and I had A&W for the first time growing up when I was up there. Like the rest.
Is A&W regional?
I think it was more regional back when I tried it. It's not as regional now, and it's not as good now. But it was a lot more regional, like 25 years. I'm old.
Yeah, I have terrible news for you, Kent.
15 I was.
You're a lot older than when we first met.
I'm almost like my freshman year of college is almost half of my life now, and that's wild. Speaking of Minnesota, though,
yes.
Lee 87 wants to know what the quintessential Minnesota food dish is, and should I say hot dish? Is it hot dish?
Yeah.
Is it a hot dish?
It would just be some form of hot dish. I do think that probably, I'm trying to think, tater tot hot dish. Which, I mean, look, you can't have a bad tater tot hot dish. You can't. It is, I don't care what you throw in there. It's delicious.
It's a lot of good stuff. I just know, like, I used to, because our mutual friend Jake Stack grew up in the same city you grew up in, North Dakota.
Highliners. Woo.
He used to call everything like casseroles hot dishes, and I used to make fun of him incessantly for it. That's why I used that phrasing specifically, because but his mom would make him a bunch of frozen hot dishes, and he'd take them home, or he'd take them back to Kansas with him. And
that is such a Janelle thing to do, honestly.
It's so sweet and it's so thoughtful. Chief Golden Co. asks, Nick Bolton gets paid now, releases after the season, or franchise tag next year because they didn't get anything done. Which is more likely to happen?
I think the most likely thing is that they extend him. Mm-hmm. I think Spags loves him. I think Veach loves him. And I think that is by far the most likely thing that they will do in terms of their delineation of resources.
I tend to agree. We'll drive by this one, Seth. We got a lot of questions to answer. I'll tend to agree with that. I'm just more fascinated on what the ultimate number is.
Me too.
Because,
there's a number I'm okay with.
Yeah, I think there is for me too. It's probably not as high as others, but I want my 18 to 20 million linebacker to impact the game a little differently from a, on-field perspective. And that's not even fair. Just from a coverage perspective, we'll call it.
Yep.
That kind of stuff.
Yep.
A tier below that, payment-wise, like, I can live with that. Like, I'm comfortable with that, especially knowing what he does from a, game adjustments perspective, from, having another Spags on the field kind of perspective. I get the value of that. And he's still young. He's not declining physically or athletically. Take all those things into consideration. Like, there's a number, there's a number.
There's definitely a number. He's better than Anthony Hitchens, and Spags loved Anthony Hitchens. But he has some of the same. That's the comparison I often use, because there's some similar struggles in certain situations, and that's where, like, the Drew Tranquil thing to me, probably. And the thing is, Drew Tranquil's a better player than he got credit for prior to last year. I think people really saw that. It's not like when Bolton got hurt last year that the defense suddenly forgot how to line up.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I mean, and maybe there's levels to this because, maybe if you don't have Drew Tranquill out there, because, I mean, we saw that against the Packers, and suddenly things looked, although, I mean, Brian Cook got hurt early in that game too. It was a whole deal. But maybe that defense looks different if you don't have strong leaders at every level already. If you don't, have Justin Reed out there already and Trent McDuffie, who's basically a computer even in his second year. Like, I love Trent McDuffie. Like, that is my mission in life, is to make people understand how good Trent McDuffie is, because people don't. But anyway, there's a number I'm okay with Bolton. It's just everything is a cost-benefit analysis. Everything you spend on Nick Bolton, you are implicitly saying, okay, well, we can't afford to bring in maybe someone that plays a more high-impact position, and that's a choice.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's interesting that amidst all this, Drew Tranquill did catch an extension, which might leave the early extension ideas off the table. Maybe they're playing things out a little bit here, see how things go in 2024. These are things I just wonder, I think about. But the fact that they were able to get Drew Tranquill back and they were able to give him an extension and they actively did it, thought that was a little bit interesting. Kyle C. asks, who has a greater disdain for Josh? Is it when he sets Seth up for a break, or is it when Josh, or is it Kent when Josh just speaks? We're going to take a break and we'll be back right after this.
We appreciate you supporting KC Sports Network by listening to our podcast. You have helped us become the highest-ranked Chiefs podcast network in 2022 and 2023. And don't forget about our daily Substack newsletter, the best written analysis you can find on the Chiefs straight to your inbox every day. kcsn.substack.com.
I wish I would have been cleaner asking the question. I think it would have had even more impact, but I think I was too excited to do that. Sure. It looks like so much fun. And I've done it twice since we've done 21 questions, and you forgot both sides.
Yeah, no, it's just, and look, when we do it a third time, I'm going to forget that too. For me, it's got to be you anytime he speaks, because for me, I more have disdain for myself. It's like, man, just tried to kick that football again, huh? And I just, at a certain point, I just accept that this is my lot in life, It's just that. That's who I am.
At what point is it a detriment to your show? Because you don't want to answer questions now.
That has happened a few times where I'll start and I'm like, ooh, oh. And so he actually has gone a few episodes in a row without doing it. And so that'll just increase the joy when it happens again.
There's a monster around the corner, and he's just got it on you now forever.
Yep.
He just owns you.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's really I think it really adds to my professionalism and really what we're trying to. It's like, no. I'm really, really smart about this stuff. Believe me, I just, have no sense of my surroundings whatsoever.
I need you to put your Outkick hat back on, because KC from KC asks, odds the Chiefs release Rashi Rice before the season.
Barring anything new happening, like 0.00001%. The only way I could see that happening would be if new information came out about the nightclub thing, that like it legit happened the way that the police report states. And I'll give a take here. If they receive information that makes it really, really likely, let's use not even preponderance, we'll use clear and convincing evidence that that's actually what happened, I say cut them loose. The reason it isn't, look, punching a guy in the face, like Draymond Green punched a teammate during practice. To me,
it was Jordan Poole. Yeah,
I know. The world collectively decided they did not care about sucker punching a guy and knocking him out because it was Jordan Poole. How? What?
There is I'm not a fan of Draymond either. Right.
That's, No, the world collectively was like, we don't care that much. And that's, so it really wouldn't be that, for me, it would be, that's demonstrative. That would be, if that's what happens. And we'll see. I have no idea. We've heard conflicting reports, no idea. But to me, that would be demonstrative of someone who just doesn't get it. And, hey, you got a Super Bowl win out of them. Because they don't win the Super Bowl in 2023 without Rashi Rice. Mm-hmm. And to me, you just get clear now. before something, whatever. It doesn't help when you're a franchise that is under the spotlight as much as they are. And then that's going to just keep happening. For me, that would be enough. Like, if it came out that that's exactly what happened, and I'm all for, hey, if another team decides to sign him, fair enough. It'll be a bummer to watch because I think he's a good player. I think he might even end up being a really, really, really good player, incredibly talented. But to me, it would... You're essentially on probation. You've got this really bad thing hanging up over your head, and the idea that you would do something like that to me is demonstrative of someone who doesn't care. Not just an idiot kid. The racing thing, I understand the high risk of harm. I've prosecuted hundreds of them, including some that ended way more tragically. But I've also prosecuted a billion speeding tickets where someone was going 90 to 100. And it's just stupid kids driving stupidly. I can get past that. Okay, you're an idiot. Don't ever do anything like that again. But then if you a month later cold clock a guy for God only knows what reason, that to me says you're maybe just incorrigible, and I just rather, nope, you can figure it out elsewhere. But that would be the only thing I think that would lead to that, would be if they get information that shows that really did happen, and if he lied to someone about it. We saw what happened with Kareem Hunt. Had Kareem Hunt, in my opinion, had he not lied to Andy or Clark, whoever he lied to, I don't think they cut him loose.
I agree. That's the thing, is like Andy's leash is long. When it comes to issues, it's the "you don't lie to me" piece of it that ultimately did cream it. Craig is great. Asks question for Kent: how long would a Maddie, Seth, and Nate pod go for? We're not allowed legally to find out, because I think StreamYard's there's a limitation on how long you're allowed to stream for, and the limit does not exist. Like these. It would be hilarious to see what happens. Just like put you guys in a stream room and just the three longest winded people, the three people that could probably be the most tangential of all of us at KC Sports Network.
Yeah,
it would be,
the limit does not exist. Let me tell you, I knew Maddie. I've known Maddie since Arrowhead Pride back in like 2010. Right, Maddie and I have spent hour upon hour debating in written format in a comment section back when he was Kelsey's Crazies, or whatever his name was on there. We have, and he and I usually agreed on most stuff, but we're talking books worth of ink. And so just me and Maddie, with just Nate in the background going, woo! Or just whatever it was, That
have his Nate'll just have a random monologue laying on a bed, just
greatest moment in podcast history was Nate just coming unhinged, laying on that hotel bed. That was one of the funniest things I've seen.
It's just I try not to watch you guys too much, and there's a few reasons for that. One of them is I don't want any thought trails heading. I need to keep a clear mind for the lab, especially since we are doing two shows running side by side with each other. It could be really bad content if we are paying too much attention to each other's content, because we won't say what we want to say sometimes because someone else has already said it, or I don't know how to say this, this is a little too inside baseball, I guess, but I don't want to get too far into the into what you guys are talking about, because I don't want it to be in the back of my mind that you guys have already covered that, or some of that kind of stuff. I don't know where I was going with that, but no, I just forgot. I just literally forgot. I went on my own. This is exactly why I know what it is. I know what it was. Sorry. But
this is what it's like being part of Only Weird Games. You start a sentence and then you're just like,
what happened? I don't remember where I was at. I was in Arizona for work though, and I wasn't on any of the shows that week, and so I watched every lab, and I watched every Only Weird because I had time to kill, and so while I was gone, I was just I was watching both shows, and I think that was the episode where Nate was laying on the bed, and I asked myself, is this like this all the time?
And the funny thing is, and Tucker just mentioned this in the private chat, Nate was literally breaking news that no one else had. Schefter didn't have it. No one had it. And he's doing it, kicking his feet in the air. And and then his whole, I have no unimpressive way to get off this bet.
He's dropping these little nuggets here and there. And it's like, you are taking the longest path to get there. And you are somehow incorporating props.
Yeah,
there's always a little pot of gold at the end.
There is. None of us anticipated when we shifted to video format that of the three of us, it would be Nate who would just become unhinged. And I love it. And so, because let's face it, we all figured it was me. That was the good money in Vegas was on me, not being able to handle it. And that's been so much fun. That is, I don't know if I've laughed harder doing a show than that, because he just wouldn't stop. And the live comments were just coming unglued because they couldn't believe what they were seeing.
I'm a little, correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is before KCSN, when you guys were doing the shows with The Athletic, you didn't even use video to see each other while you're doing your shows. Is that right?
That's absolutely right. The only show we ever did where we could see each other was the finale. And we decided afterward, and the finale was kind of emotional, we kind of knew that we'd keep working together, but it was still weird. It's always weird when things end, even when you know something else is beginning. But we actually all agreed afterward. We were like, man, it's a good thing we didn't normally do this because, it's distracting. And one of my favorite things in the world, and because he's not Josh, for being such a generally happy guy and such a jokester, he's not always easy to make laugh. He'll go along with jokes and he'll usually add to them because he's very funny. But making him actually kind of involuntarily laugh is one of my favorite things. And it just so happens that the more you crank up the obnoxiousness, the worse the unwilling laugh gets. And so it's just one of my favorite things. So I'll just do things and I'm just looking at him while I do it. And it's one of my very favorite things. It's legitimately distracting. I don't know if it makes for a better podcast, but that's what you do.
I'm stunned that you guys have done so many shows together, and this was the first setting you were actually kind of looking at each other. It's amazing. I couldn't imagine, even the very first iterations of our show with the lab back at AP, we were like using Zoom or something. Like we were
really?
Always, yes. And like that's what it was just like, because like, you know, and it's good because we can kind of do, you know, you can do especially when it's just audio, you can just like wave people down and be like, my turn, you know. But yes, you know,
there are no turns.
There are no turns. Yeah,
there are no you fight for every second you get to talk in Only Weird Games. You got to scratch and claw for that. It is not for the faint of heart.
All right, let's see. We got to get through some of these. I'll
be shorter. I promise.
It's all good. See, this is why you, Nate, and Maddie can't do a pod. We just made a 7-minute answer about nonsense. Corrender asks, if Seth came to my tailgate and all I had was beer and brats, would you eat one? You'd love to have a beer-soaked bratwurst?
Oh, yeah, that wouldn't really be a problem for me. No, I don't think so. No, I mean, I eat tiramisu. I mean, you know, I usually commit felonies afterward, but...
What's in tiramisu that's alcoholic?
Alcohol?
There's alcohol in tiramisu?
I think so. I think it's cooked out, though. But no, I mean, a beer-soaked brat, that wouldn't be... I mean, I eat beer cheese. I don't know if there's actually beer in that. But no, that wouldn't bother me.
And it's delicious.
Beer cheese pretzel burgers. They're incredible. But yeah, no, you make me you soak a brat in anything, I'll probably eat it. Like, there's really not a liquid that you could lay out there. Well, I'm sure there is.
Let's not
test that. Let's not test that theory. But no, I would definitely do that. I'm more of the spirit of the law as to the letter of the law kind of guy.
All right. Dual Tools asks, what do you think the Lions should have done with Jared Goff?
I think they made a business decision, probably the correct one, in that I don't know if after the season they just had with the team that they have that really can, I think, contend for a Super Bowl. I think you have to go all in. I think Mahomes has kind of broken people's brains, and Tom Brady before him, with this idea that you can only win with a certain guy. You can win, especially with a certain type of guy. So like Jared Goff is like, I put him in like that, maybe that Kirk Cousins, Alex Smith tier of QBs. But the thing is, his specific skill set makes for a higher ceiling when you're in that right situation, right? And that's where I think you can win it all with Goff. I think they've got the team to do it, so I think you kind of have to, rather than letting that become a distraction. So I think they did the right thing. It's a lot of money, though, for a guy who, was he top 14? Yeah. So there's a lot of really good quarterbacks in the league.
I think you have to pay him, and I am slowly not regretting teams paying mediocre quarterbacks. Now that this is gonna sound weird because it's not to say that Mahomes isn't a discount, and it's not to say that having an elite tier quarterback at $5 million more APOI isn't an advantage, because it 100% is.
Yeah,
but I think it is getting to a point in this league where you have to settle at quarterback. You have to, and you really don't have a choice. And you've got a cheap window with a rookie contract, and you can do it that way. But it's going to come down to building a good team around a quarterback in most cases regardless. And they've built a good team with an identity, and they've got a leader at quarterback, and they've drafted well. And I think there is a path to the Lions finding some kind of success. Mahomes is always going to be around the corner, and some of these elite quarterbacks are always going to be around the corner, but you can't just swing to, you can put yourself in a situation to win or be in a Super Bowl, and then anything can happen, like Purdy versus Goff going to the Super Bowl in the NFC, especially on the NFC side too. Like there's that factor too. It's like
you don't go through that same gauntlet. Yep.
Right. And
I think you make a really good point there. And I would just note, it's easy to say, well, nope, you need to get an elite one. Even in today's league, there's still only, there's Mahomes. We're throwing him out of the equation because there's no one like him. And then there's 6 or 7 elite guys. Mm-hmm. And then you're just dealing with varying strengths and weaknesses. And again, if you got to find a high ceiling kind of above average-ish guy, because above average means something different at quarterback now than it did 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. It's still a guy who can sling it, but he's got to have the right skill set, and you can at least build one iteration of a team. Go all in once, and then okay, if it doesn't work out, okay, fine, then you crater out. But I mean, at least give it a shot. I mean, because you do have to think of it in terms of what are you just going to do? Be terrible for 20 years until you get lucky enough? That's no way to live.
And these guys' jobs aren't built on luck. They don't have time to be lucky.
Correct.
But especially with a team like I think I'm slowly. It's still funny because a bunch of people are paying a bunch of money to pay not Patrick Mahomes near Patrick Mahomes money, and I love it. And that's just the natural built-in advantage. But that advantage isn't going away just because you try to, take a different path. He's always going to be there. And even if you get into a CJ Stroud, I mean,
who knows how 2024 will go for the Texans? I mean, I think they'll do well. I think they're ascending. I think he needs to learn how to deal with zone blitzes, because the Ravens said, hey, how can you handle our zone blitzes and sim pressures? And he couldn't, just like Mahomes couldn't in 2018, right? With the Pats. Yep. And so now we'll see, because he's going to face so much of that this next year. People are going to, now not everyone does it as good as McDonald. So it'll be with varying levels of success.
Mm-hmm. All right. Rugby Fox asks, what's the best time slot for a Chiefs game?
I'm really fond of Sunday afternoon games, like the 3:30 slot. The reason being, I still do pulpit supply at my church like once every 6 months, which is, by the way, the best life for preaching, because you don't even have to come up with anything good. It's like, the real pastor has to like preach on something specific every week. Me, I'm like, let's talk about God's love, shall we?
They're really half listening anyway, because it's a guest.
Exactly.
Guy, yeah.
And so, exactly, yeah, they know it's like, oh, this guy, well, especially now my church, they know me. They're like, oh, this guy, okay. Well, we should tune out a little bit here. So the problem for me, though, is noon, and it's hard to set a good example for my kids about church. Like, no, church is important, guys. It's really important. It's like, Dad, why are you slowly making your way towards the door? Because it's 11:42. Like, get me out of here. And then I like it because when I come down to Kansas City for games, I like the ability to take my time on Sunday morning and all that stuff. I like the fact that more people are watching it because I like the shared Twitter experience. And with primetime games, it's so much harder. You know this. It's so much harder to create content with a primetime game because by the time it ends and then by the time the film is released, it's just, you get to bed. Yeah, it's really, that's tougher to do when you're doing it for a job. I think just as a fan, I don't mind like the primetime thing, but I really like the afternoon thing. It nestles comfortably between church and work.
I guess you don't have an earlier service? You guys don't have an early service?
I mean, we're a Baptist church. We're lucky we have one. Like this.
I like you hit the 9:30 service. You go you go get your Chipotle burrito. You eat it, and then you sit down, and you got a good 9 hours of football starting with your favorite football team at noon. I love the noon slate,
and the noon slate is great. It is nice.
It's my
One
favorite.
reason I like primetime slates is because you can watch Red Zone all day stress-free, which is kind of nice. Just to be able to really take in everything. But I do, being a guy of a pattern of habit, I respect that. I could see that too. But no, we're never out of there until noon. And so, I got to get a bigger clock in the back of the sanctuary.
Let's see here. We got a few more questions I want to get into. Take 3 guys on the Royals and put them on the Chiefs, and what positions are they playing? I know you're not a Royals fan, so I'll answer this one really quick. We're going to put Dyron Blanco, the outfielder, in the return role. We're going to let him play special teams. Bobby Witt Jr., we are going to put in the receiver room and see what we can get out of him. Freakish athlete. We should be able to find a way to use him. And then we're going to put Salvi at the backup Mike linebacker spot for vibes. For just pure vibes.
Just pure vibes. Love it. Can't disagree with any of it. Witt has a real, Wes Welker-ish, Ladd McConkey, Julian Edelman, Eric Decker vibe as a receiver to me. I can't tell you why. I just feel like he'd really put in the work and probably be the first one in, last one out. So,
just a lunch pill, just a lunch pill kind of guy.
All heart, all grit. Yeah.
Casey from KC wants to know if you like the schedule release, Seth.
It's fine. For me, it actually is a reminder for me to start paying attention to the next year because I'm usually still watching film or I'm still trying to look at the draft picks film or doing whatever. And I usually, because, we know who the opponents are. And so I honest to goodness couldn't tell you right this second. And so I have to look at it in sequential order. Things that are out of sequence don't really make sense to me. They just don't, I can't remember them. So I like it just fine. It's, it's content. It is what it is. It fills stuff in mid-May.
Yeah, it's whatever.
Yeah.
That being said, full schedule breakdown on KC Sports Network on the KC Laboratory. So make sure you're checking that out.
It's a can't miss.
It's a can't miss. It's a doozy. Mike Denny asks, any new spots we need to try out in KC? So I'm going to give you a full enjoyable kind of, afternoon here. And it's all built around Chef Jay. So we've talked a lot about Chef Jay. Have you been to Chef Jay yet, Seth?
Oh, man, you got mad at me about this last time.
Okay, I couldn't remember if you have. Okay, so you haven't yet. So
It's on the list.
Yep. Okay.
It's on the list. I'm never in town in time to do it because I'm never in town on Saturday during the day. But I'm going to change that this year just because I saw they had what looked like hot honey sausage.
Yeah, they do. So they have rotating sausages. Right now, it's smash burger sausage. So
I'd eat that too.
I know you would. You know what? Look, I'm never going to blame you for going to Joe's. I'm never going to blame you for going to Meet Mitch because they are both delightful.
They are.
I love both of them. You need to try Chef J too.
Every person that I've talked to that has gone to Chef J has said that it really might be the very best Kansas City has to offer.
They all have, yeah.
Yep. And that's incredibly high praise.
They all have their strengths and differences. There's no weaknesses with any of them. They're all strengths and differences. But anyways, here's the new schedule. If you ever plan in a Chef J day, you start at you got to get there at like 11:30. Okay, you got to get there at like 11:30 for it to open at noon. You got to be there early, so you get in the line a half hour, so you don't have to wait a long time. But what you do is you get a little early and you go to Java Garage right next door, a couple doors down. It's a delightful little coffee place. You go get your coffee. Then you can go get in line for your Chef J. You eat your Chef J. After Chef J, Seth, you can go home at a respectable time after this. But there's this place, I think it's called Westport, or not West, it's West Bottoms Whiskey. And it is an absolutely delightful speakeasy type vibe. It's a little bit more rustic, but it's craft cocktails and they're absolutely delicious. So you can get a full day. They use Java Garage coffee and an espresso martini type cocktail. So you're getting your coffee to start. You're getting your Chef J, and then you're finishing it off with maybe a cocktail or two afterwards. It is a delightful experience. I cannot, like, just that area alone has like its own, like, you could do a full day out of it if you really wanted to. So I'm adding layers to the Chef J experience. That would be my new suggestion. So I have seen Jordan Foote spill an entire coffee at Java Garage all over the floors of it. I've seen Tucker spill coffee all over the floors of the Star. So these youths, like, they're having their own struggles. But anyways, yeah, that would be my chaotic. That would be like a good 8-hour, experience there, and you would have a wonderful time out there. So there's my new suggestion, kind of adding layers to the Chef J. But go get Chef J, Seth. We gotta get you there sometime.
I will. I promise.
Mm-hmm. Really important question on the way out. Would you rather get an uppercut to the jaw from Mike Tyson or kick to the belly from an adolescent kangaroo? And that's coming from Maddie Lane. This is the question from Maddie Lane.
Uppercut to the jaw from Mike Tyson. And I'm not going to do any of the qualifying questions to try to make one of them remarkably easier. Mm-hmm. Uppercut to the jaw. I think I've got a decent shot that the kick from the adolescent kangaroo, that his claws might not be fully developed and it just hurts like crazy but doesn't rip me open. Whereas that uppercut from Mike, I assume I assume my jaw is going to get broken, dent or I think I'm going to be more likely to have long-term damage. Now, on the plus side, it might change what my face looks like. And I'm willing to make some considerations there.
Could help.
But, or honestly, if my jaw would be like wired shut. It's diet time, baby. Let's get south of 200 pounds again. You know what? I've changed my mind. Uppercut to the jaw from Mike Tyson. Best diet ever. By the time it's all said and done, I'll be a fighting 185, 190 again. And then, we'll see what happened with my face. I don't have that great a face in the first place, so, no one's going to care.
You got to record a song, too. It's a little rap song, Through the Wire, right?
Oh, sure.
So,
yeah. It sounds like a foolproof plan where nothing will ever go wrong if I do that.
I think I'm risking it with the kangaroo.
That would hurt so much.
It's miserable. That's a great way to end this show. That's going to do it for 21 questions. Thank you to everyone that's asked those great questions. A lot of fun. Thank you to Seth. Go subscribe to his Substack, and we appreciate you. We'll catch you later.